Morning, everyone. It's November 16th. I have the cards pulled already because this is a bit of a second take kind of day. I have a pretty terrible voice. I'm going to apologize for that. Still a bit under the weather. But let's do it anyway. So I was inspired by my tablecloth, my altar cloth. And we're going to do Mother, Maiden, Crone. So Mother, Maiden, Crone is, you know, a triple face of divinity and feminine divinity. It's actually kind of a more modern invention. We certainly find it in Hecate, and we find it in Odin. We find it pretty much all over the place. But the Wiccan Mother, Maiden, Crone is kind of an amalgamation, but it's a beautiful one, and it's one of my favorites. We are certainly in the Crone season right now. It's November. It's after Samhain, and it's going into Yule, where that will turn over again. But for now, this is the season of the witch for sure, and the Crone part of that witch. So we have a pretty interesting spread. We have the Empress for the Maiden. For the Mother, we have the King of Pentacles. And for the Crone, we have Justice. So let's get into it. In the position of the Maiden, interestingly, we have the most motherly of cards in the deck, I would say, the Empress. So, this should be talking to whatever area in our life is in that maiden energy. In other words, the maiden energy is that which we are sowing, that which is just starting to be born, the ideas that are coming online, the transition into what comes next. Maiden energy is, pretty open and naive and receptive in this open way, but it's also quite like lusty and quite sensuous. And here we have the Empress, which is, I always associate with the goddess Demeter, who's the ultimate mother. And in that myth, her maiden aspect would be Persephone. So her daughter Persephone brings on the spring, and as she does it, she wanders around. You can see that she's standing in like a field of full-grown wheat. And yet when it's Persephone's time, when it's the maiden time of year, she crosses those same fields with her bull Taurus. And it's everywhere that the hoofs go, these fields of flowers crop up. And Taurus is very sensual and gentle being. So there's a lot of gentleness and sensuality here that is kind of like open for whatever comes. So that is meeting that area in our life that is, this is a very sensual card to pull in the position of the maiden for today's reading. The area of your life today that is being sown, that is receptive to what comes. Also, there's an invitation in that area of your life into knowing that the seed of whatever is being sown, it already contains like the full DNA map of where it's going. So there's kind of like a trust and receptivity to the process being invited here through the appearance of the Empress, who is just it's receptivity embodied. I think that's what the Empress card is all about. So that's lovely. That's so cool that we got kind of mother and maiden in one. So moving on to the position of the mother. So this is pointing to whatever areas in our life right now that are at their fullness, that are being harvested, that are kind of in a position of ripeness. If we look at the landscape of our personal lives as a, agricultural process or a natural process. So whether it's your work life or your personal life or your spiritual life, whatever right now is in its fullness and ripeness is what this card is pointing to. And what we have is the King of Pentacles. I draw nothing but kings lately. I must be reflecting for you guys quite a leap into leadership myself. I've always found that if I'm pulling the same cards over and over again, even if it's for other people or a group of people, there's sort of a meeting. Anyway, that's an aside. But of course, this also reflects the whole, and kings are leadership. Kings are integration of interior elements. In this case, it's the air and the earth. It's the mental realm, the chitter chatter of the brain, and the material realm, the body and the home and the work. And you can see how damn sensual this guy is. He's just like fat and jolly. This is the Dreaming Way Tarot. And he's covered in, he's pretty bacchanalian in kind of like a laid back, mature kind of way. There's a lot of sensuality in this guy in his grape robe. So, man, it's kind of a Taurian card. I think it is ruled by Taurus, this card. Interesting, in the realm of the mother. So this is just showing us that in the realm, in whatever area of your life right now that is ripe, there's some invitation into rolling around in that ripeness a little bit today, and also allowing sort of a step in feeling a balance between the ever persistent intellectual stuff and analytical mind, and the kind of ripeness and availability of the material world. So there's some ease that we're being invited into in that. And then also the other thing about kings is that they're servants of the greater good, and it's all about leadership, and it's really an outward facing card. It's an active card. Kings are active. So we are being invited into some leadership activity in the ripe parts of our world that have to do with health and have to do with home and have to do with career. I would say especially your work, whatever your work might be. Yeah, cool. So the last card is our major arcana card. So I'd say that this has, oh no, we also have the Empress. A couple of majors today. And we have Justice. So of course we're in the Crone time of year, and we're looking, this card is about the Crone area of your life today. That which is fading away, that which is also gaining power in that way. It's not so much like necessarily dying. It could be that part of your life that is waning in that sense. But it's also that part of your life that is becoming more interior and more on your own terms. A crone, part of the power of being in your maturity and in your waning days in anyone's life cycle is that you get to that point where you're a little bit like, fuck it. So yeah, this is the area of our lives that's more on our own terms. Wherever that's showing up for you today, we have this invitation and this from justice. So in the arc of the Fool's journey in the major arcana, justice is when the Fool has gone through all of this mystical awakening and seen the face of God and discovered metaphysical reality and discovered the psychic senses, and then come back down off the mountain for the first time back into society and right into the halls of justice, where the interior world meets the structures of society. So my feeling with this card today is that this is representing less so what's happening maybe in your life, but representing what's happening all over the world and in the social context, national, international, and since we're talking about metaphysics, especially maybe in the whole span of the human story. And of course, what's happening today, as absolutely riveting and horrifying as it might be, throughout the world in the political arena, it's a drop in the bucket in terms of human evolution. And humanity is one animal on this planet in the evolution of our planet in general. So just because this is tarot, like I think it's automatically contextualized into the timeline of the universe. I still think this is a pretty pivotal moment, but this is really drawing attention to the fact that we are in a Crone cycle, politically and culturally, right? So where the interior world meets the social structures of human culture, we're in a Crone cycle. Something is dying away and it's kicking and screaming. It's in pain as it's dying. Something is, especially in America, there's a real sense of like my way. I mean, there always has been, but even more so, there's a real sense of you know, it's all on my own terms. The social conventions can go fuck themselves. So that's a real Crone position. That's the part of the human life when I guess there's a little bit of that in adolescence, but you really sink into it in your maturity when you're like, guess what? I'm never wearing high heels again. I'm letting my grays grow out. I'm whatever, just bucking social convention and becoming the hag because of everything, life becoming on your own terms. And I think that's what's happening all around us. There's something in the Crone cycle. So yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling that this card is being pulled for that part of our attention that is being taken up, and that part of our personal energy that is being kind of subterfuged by the collective energy, the collective story that is happening around our cultural shifts that are being reflected in the political arena in this country, and our impeachment thing, and all over the world. We won't go into it, but justice and Cronedom. What is dying? What is dying? Let's pay attention to that today and honor it. So, very cool. Let's do a little recap. In the areas of our lives where things are being sown, we have this invitation into trusting in the process that the seed contains the fullness, Mhm. In the area of our lives where things are being reaped and are ripe, we have this invitation to enjoy it and to kind of focus that outward through um, like an invitation to leadership. Very nice. That sounds like a party to me. Enjoy it and leadership. I like it. And then in the position of the crone, this really feels like the interface between our personal lives and our collective consciousness and what is happening in terms of what is dying away among us collectively. Here in the halls of justice, which is where the interior life and the spiritual story meets the structures of culture. Um, that's how I'm feeling justice today, anyway. Well, thank you so much. So glad you came. Please subscribe. I do the full readings and I do energy healings, and you can find all that through all the links. So much love on this beautiful Sunday, and I'll see you tomorrow. Blessed be.